What's up, studs and studettes? As always, I appreciate you. The Claude Squad movement's actually growing. People are using it as a hashtag. If that's you, I appreciate you. Definitely looking to grow that movement because I feel like having a group of like-minded people who are on a mission together can be and will be a lot of fun. But obviously, I'm doing the 365 days of live videos on Facebook. And there's like a little bit of a following around the Claude Squad. So people who follow me, I've branded my personal Facebook page followers the Claude Squad. So if that's you, I appreciate you. But today we have a guest that is somebody I've kind of like engaged with at a distance. We have a lot of like paths that have overlapped, but we really met for the first time about a month ago in Dallas at the $1 Million Mastermind event. And this is somebody whose almost entire ecosystem has been built around chasing excellence, going after and hunting down the next best version of himself. And it's somebody that, like, for the little bit of time I've been following him, engaging with him, somebody I look up to and somebody who represents what winning looks like. And obviously with WinRate Consulting and my goal in life to create champions, it's a big part of what I do is try to, like, I don't want to say take from, but absorb the best practices of a lot of people. And like anybody who says they're self-made, honestly, is full of shit. Everybody had some influence, good, bad, or indifferent. Everybody's been influenced in some way. No one was born like absolutely everything that they are right now. People, if they're the same version of themselves they were 3 years ago, they're not growing like they say they are. But I have Brad Modrich of dozens of successful things right now. He's involved with First Form, Arete. He has several of his own successful businesses. And I'm looking forward to kind of him sharing his vision and story and passion right now, which does mirror mine a lot, which is creating champions is mine, but, giving people discipline and belief in themselves is a huge part of Brad's approach right now. So Brad, welcome to the episode, man.
Man, thanks for being on, brother. First off, you can tell this is a live event.
This podcasting is virtually 101. Close your office door. Like
close your fucking office door, bro. First off, thanks for having me on here. When we met down in Texas, I was people watching when I met you, and I want to tell this. I got to tell the story because for those of you that haven't met you in person, you got a gift to be able to work a room. And I noticed that your ability to communicate, strong eye contact, it immediately you had this like radiant energy of, hey, I'm here for good. Like, who are you? What are we doing? Like, you just had this like vibe to you. And immediately I think that's why I kind of gravitated and we introduced you to each other and we met. So I just want to tell you from the sideline, you're doing great work, man. Like your energy, people are talking. I'm witnessing people even talk about you. I know that you were down in Fort Lauderdale with Brian, another one of my Arete brothers.
Yep.
And you're doing great work, man. I'm a fan. And the second you said, hey, do you want to be on a podcast? Absolutely. I didn't even have to second guess it, man, because I believe we have the same spirit. We have the same energy. And most importantly, we have the same mission that we're on. We want to see people truly do better.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I really appreciate you saying that, man. Like, I don't want to say like I'm surprised. It's cool to hear from somebody who I look up to, right? But I believe I'm very intentional. Like my mission in life, and you're new to this ecosystem a little bit, but I want to have an impact with every conversation I have. Like that's how I plan to make my vision, my mission, my life come to fruition. So to see that it actually is looking that way from the outside is obviously a very cool thing for me because that's a very intentional mission for me is to have an impact with every conversation. But I think it's also a testament too of you saw it, right? But then like you found out I was an Arete, you saw that I was a sponsor, you know that I know Brian, like a lot of those other things I think added into the brand that I'm trying to build, which made it easier for you, I think, to like justify.
I'll be right there. Give me 1 second. I'll be right there. Sorry about that.
No problem. So, basically going through that process of qualifying me as a person that can bring value to you, I think that's really cool to see.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. And I mean, looking for validation, I think we all look for validation. And sometimes when we're going through, the day-to-day, the mundane tasks, it feels just like, man, am I really doing it? Am I being effective? And especially because of the industry, I want to say industry with like mindset and building people up. That is, we're we're amongst some titans in this industry, right? You know, Andy's and the Eds and the Stumans, like these guys are really affecting. And sometimes when you look at them and what they're doing, that throws off the belief in what you're doing, because you're like, well, I'm not on that stage. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And everything just kind of just feels like it's just weighing down on you. So to get that validation, and I'm a brother in arms, I'm a soldier in arms right by your side. I'm seeing it, and you're doing it. And I think this is another big reason why I fuck with your vibe, is because you're doing what you said you were going to do. And that right there alone is what fucks a lot of people up. They get distracted. They hear other people, they compare themselves to self-doubt, all this just nonsense. But at the end of the day, if you can do what the fuck you said you're going to do, and you do it internally, that belief system that, oh shit, I am doing it. You're right. I am changing lives. You're right. Then this confidence starts to fucking build in you, bro. And I think you and I are kind of at that same point, because, and I said this to Zach, this is 19 years in the making of grinding, and it's finally just getting to where I want to be, and doors are opening. And I'm a firm believer that if you continue to do the right thing, you do what the fuck you say you're going to do, and you lift others, you're going to win. I don't care.
Oh, look, I mean, Brad, you obviously have an approach to physical health, mental health, success. I mean, you've dove into these worlds like 1st Phorm, and you were in LA Fitness before and kind of changed the landscape of that, with Kurt and Tony and stuff. So where do you think you made the transition from, I need to be this pillar of discipline, to, wow, if other people could learn this, I could make a much larger impact on this world? Because I was corporate America first, right? And you get stuck in like, this is our world, this is us, this is internal, like, and you're just basically trying to drive that ship. But like now, I think you've been in the mentorship world as a student, and now you're realizing like, man, I have a gift that I can grant other people that could change a lot of lives. Was there like a moment that switch happened for you, or was that just a progression over time as that confidence grew within you?
There's no doubt it started at LA Fitness, like unquestionable. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this. Like I'm a convicted felon, and when I got arrested, that's really where it started. When I got arrested, there was a point where something happened in prison where I was just like, fuck, I can't live this life no more. And I immediately made that that switch in prison to be better, do better, learn more, just to quit doing the dumb shit that I was doing. And that again was a progression over time. I got out, I got into the fitness industry. And when I teamed up with LA Fitness is what gave me the structure. I'll never forget the guy's name, Dean Deermeyer. He was a vice president for the company. He was just like, you got to read. I was like, okay, read what? He was like, no, you got to like personal development book. And the first book he ever turned me on to was John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And at that point, I just embraced everything and realized I had so much to learn. And it was a gradual thing. And at that time, I was starting with LA Fitness. My girlfriend, who became my fiance, who's now my wife, she was pregnant with our daughter. And I was in a point where literally it was, I do remember this conversation, because I could have been an iron worker. I could have, just laid up, been an iron worker, got a pension, got all that good old boy shit.
Which is like Pennsylvania, right? Like that's just like, that's the mission, right?
Right. Pennsylvania. This is what it is. And then LA Fitness came in, and I was telling my wife about this. And I was like, I gotta be this guy. Like, you gotta trust me. And her trusting me and believing me back then, that was, almost 19 years ago. um, it just started to gradual and just get better and grow more. But where it all stemmed from, where the whole discipline and you got to get your shit together and you got to be better. It's when I had my kid, man. It's when I had my daughter, because that was the first time. And you know, it could sound cliche, but it was the first time I said, you have someone that's more important than yourself. Like you got to get shit together. And immediately, knowing the childhood that I grew up in, no dad, mom, kind of, you know, distant, kind of doing whatever the fuck I want, I immediately made a decision that I was going to break that generational curse. Like there was no way that that circle was going to repeat itself. It was impossible. And then I just kind of fell in love with self-development, had a lot of good VPs that I followed over the years. I seen them making money and just, I wanted more. But then Andy came into my life. That was about 2015 with the MFCEO project. And that's really when I changed from, okay, this is what you're doing now. You're capable of so much more. And listening to that MFCEO project, and obviously Andy is a fucking huge part in my life. He's an instrumental part of my growth and development since 2015. So I'm listening to MFCEO and I'm like, fuck, I do that. I do that. I do that. I do that. And no one ever formally taught me what he was kind of teaching. I'm just like, fuck, like I knew that. And then it got to the point where you keep hearing, you know, MFCEO, be the motherfucking CEO of your own life. You start believing and you're applying these day-to-day actions. And then the light switched. It was 2018. And I was just like, I am worth so much more. Nothing against LA Fitness. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now today. Our family would not be where it's at if I didn't have that structure and the financial backing that LA Fitness provided. But now, for the first time, I believed in myself. Whether it was validation from hearing what Andy was preaching, and I knew that I was doing right, whatever it was, that's when it clicked. You absolutely can do this, and that's when I really started to believe in myself. It was about 2018. Like, I mean, really, like a strong belief. Like, yo, you're fucking doing it, man.
Like
You're
it went from
doing
like
it.
a thought to like I see a path now. Like I'm
Right.
taking steps in this direction.
I could touch it. Like
Yeah.
I could physically fucking see it. I could see what's going on. It was great. And ever since then, I just engaged, you know, and I mean, fuck, you could look up any Instagram quote, you know, from step outside of your comfort zone, discipline, you know, discipline equals free. You got all these, you know, so much information, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to believing in yourself and then having the discipline to do two things. Do what the fuck you say you're going to do, right? Do what you know you got to do, whether it's the extra call, whether it's the spreadsheet, whether it's the, you know, meeting people, your network, whatever it is, you know what you got to do. Doing that. And then this is the big thing, to say no to the things that keep you from moving. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things, is to say no. Say no to the drinking, say no to the bad food, say no to the, I mean, a lot of guys out there, it's a big stud. Stop watching fucking porn every day, right? Like all of this dumb shit that guys know they do, and women. I'm not saying, I don't want to make this a man or woman thing, but you know what the hell you're doing when no one else is looking. Stop doing that shit. It doesn't serve you. And I'm speaking from personal experience. The second that I had that fucking come to Jesus conversation with myself, with the man in the mirror, my hand to God, like things changed, like dramatically changed. And that discipline to do what I said I was going to do and to say no to the things that kept me from it, that was the key that helped me unlock the box to my success code.
All right. So sounds great, Brad.
Yeah.
Right. But for somebody, I went through a very similar journey, so I know exactly where this question is coming from. But it doesn't happen overnight like a lot of successful people make it seem, right? I'm not saying you did that, but a lot of people say like, oh, just figure this out, listen to yourself and confidence will build. There's a lot of failure that comes with that that awakening and breaking out of those habits and the people and the influences and the drugs, the drinking, the porn, the sex, the women. And look, I do believe men play a different role in the ecosystem of the hierarchy than women do. It's not a sexist thing. It's like, my wife's not supposed to fight my battles. I'm supposed to fight my wife's battles. That's just how it goes. I married an independent woman, but like, I need to be stronger, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, because that's my job as a husband and father. So I broke through a very similar bad habit cycle of years of try, hit a ceiling, fail, drop down into the hole, right? And so how did you, in the moment, looking back now, it's like, oh, of course, this is what I do. I'm disciplined. But like, that wasn't where you started. How did you catch yourself into that momentum? Because I think you need momentum to realize the discipline works, or it just doesn't make any sense, because you're like, literally have to let go of every comfort zone you have to make it happen, right? You gotta let go of the drugs, you gotta let go of the alcohol, you gotta let go of the parties, the bad food, the women, the bad influences, the porn, all that stuff. But then like, you're kind of floating in thin air to an extent, because you haven't grasped onto the next season of your life yet. How did you make it through that transition? And what did you implement in your daily routine that kept you moving in that right direction?
My foundation is fitness. And that's such a great question. And just let just put a keynote out there. This is 19 years in the making. So I want to be very clear. This is not a fucking overnight thing. It just didn't like one day wake up and, oh, discipline. Yeah, you're going to do it. Oh my God, look at what's going on.
I'm so proud of me.
Yeah, hey, great job. You got discipline, Brad. No, fuck that. Yo, this is 19 years of commitment,
adjusting, right? Like, it's
adjusting, building. This is the best explanation. I'm going to use Legend of Zelda, Nintendo game.
Attaboy.
I think we all know that. Legend.
Well done. Like,
it's a fucking game, right? Game of life is a game. And like Zelda, you're going to go around, you're going to go to different holes, you're going to go to different doors, and shit isn't going to work. But something's going to happen where you get to the end and something happens where you get to unlock that door in that chamber and you go to the next level. That has been consistently happening. And where it started for me was fitness. Fitness was my wheelhouse, because whether it's the massive amounts of drugs that I used when I was younger, whether it's my addictive personality, whatever it is, I got addicted to something good. And fitness is my foundation. Fitness is, it's when I'm having a bad day, I can fall back on it. It gets me back into certainty. It's what gets me my motor running in the morning. Fitness was just a huge thing for me. And then just, it's the pain versus pleasure. So I'm committed to fitness. I'm in that game. I'm building these disciplines, and I've went up, I've went down, I've went up, I went down. I think that we all do that. But then when something starts working for me, I pay attention to that. And I think this is where everyone drops the fucking ball, is because they're not paying attention to what works. They go on these little high peaks, then they stop fucking doing what got them to that peak, and then they fall off. For me, it was just paying attention to that. Anytime I'm on a run, I can guarantee you I'm reading, I'm listening, I'm working out, and I'm eating healthy. Those four fucking things are always in check. And it's going to be hard. It is hard. It's fucking hard for me. It's hard. It's not easy, but it comes down to the pain and pleasure. And this is to answer your question. If it's not causing you pain and you're not getting pleasure, either one of those, one of those got to give. It's either you get addicted to I'll use when fitness starts for people, they get addicted to working out and how their body's looking, and they're addicted to that pleasure, right? They can see their body change, they're going down in sizes. Or what gets them, and that keeps them moving. Or it's the fucking pain, where they look in the mirror and they fucking feel like jumping off a cliff because they're not happy with themselves. They feel bad, they're shamed, and something's going to kick into them that I got to get my ass moving. So it's always going to come down to, for me, it's going to come down to pain and pleasure. Like, I'm not a pleasure guy. I'm a pain guy. like for me, I got to go to that dark place. I got to go to that negativity. I use the pain and the fucking what gets in my head about people talking shit and, oh, you were just going to be a loser anyway. Me in my mind, I'm shoving it. And I know this is a little fucked up because I'm still on my walk of spirituality and finding God and doing all this. But in my mind, I'm like stomping on motherfuckers' throats, like in my head, like, fuck you, don't tell me that I can't do nothing. And it's just that combination, man, of just really paying attention to what internally moves you. And everyone's different, bro. Everyone's different, bro. It's hard. It is hard. It's hard.
Well, and here's the dirty truth that no one tells you is the further down the journey you get, the bigger the bosses get and the harder the challenges become, right? And so you constantly have to becoming a new version of yourself and continue to sharpen that weapon, because if you're not ready for the next battle you're going to run into. You think like, okay, I got confidence, I got good momentum, I'm happy, and then boom, you get crushed, you get stopped in your tracks again. And that's, I think, where the discipline really comes in, right? Because when you feeling it, it's easy to show up and wake up, go to the gym because you're excited and you're getting your reading in, and your employees are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the reports look good and cash flow's right, and then you're like, someone quits, something happens in your family, maybe you grew away from your wife for a little bit, like your kids aren't acting the way you want them to, and then all of a sudden all of it's breaking. And I think that's really where the discipline separates people like you from people who don't get there, is because when it got rough, when the waters got rough, you leaned into it and you said, this isn't going to stop me. And then you broke through that. So I think it's more than just finding the right door. Is you have to understand that the skill sets needed for that next door is not what you used to get through the last one using Zelda, which ages the shit out of you, bro. There's a lot of video games since Zelda, but I think that's the point, though. Is I think that it is a journey, it is a quest for you to go beyond that next thing, so that when the turbulence does come, you stay disciplined in what got you through the last one, but you morph, you adapt, you grow, you become stronger in that quest. And I think like you wouldn't be where you are today if the last hardest thing you dealt with stopped you.
Yeah.
And you look back to 19 years ago and the problems that you were like trying to overcome them, right now you're like, shit, that's like a normal Tuesday. Right. Like,
let me drop a jewel on you. I got this. This is directly from Ed and the Arate Syndicate, obviously, which has been a monster part of my life the past 3 years. Getting these nuggets. So like we talked before we hopped on here, I was talking about the discipline, right? The discipline is the key that unlocks that box. And in that next box is your success code, which has a combination. There's multiple things. Some people could be 3, blah, blah. So whatever. I've been journaling this. This is going to be part of my book next year, and really getting people to understand the importance and what are some of those key steps to identifying your success code, but understanding discipline and what you can do to create and strengthen that discipline muscle. And as I was thinking of this, and this is what I said, like the crazy things that are happening, I'm going over this in my head prior to anyone kind of pitching it or planting the seed with me, just getting this concept in writing so people can fucking touch it and feel it. Ed gets on a call and he talks about extremity expands your capacity. And when you hear it, like, okay, extremity expands your capacity. Extremity means you're at the point of your limit. When you're at the point of your limit, whatever it is, let's just use the gym since it's a gym conversation. When you're doing that last rep and you're going to push, you're at the extremity. If you can expand and you can do one more and you get one more, you're actually expanding your capacity for the next time. And this comes into every facet of your life. I'll use QuickBooks. Doing QuickBooks and all of the shit that I got to do for the med spa is like fucking pulling teeth for me. It is the hardest thing for me to sit down and focus and get numbers. It was easy for me at LA Fitness because there was a system in place. So for this was my biggest breakthrough. this year. Like the first quarter of the year, I dissected all, and I went down the rabbit's hole, creating systems and everything all on my own. It was fucking one of the hardest things I had to do, for me anyway. It could be easy for some people. For me, it was fucking hard. I remember there was times when I was sitting there and I'd have shiny object syndrome, and I'd be like, okay, let me quick go do something else. Like I wouldn't just stay in that fucking that point where that pressure and the it was just building up on me. And then I was like, you gotta do this. You gotta stay committed to it. Even if this is the hardest thing in the world, push it. And I did. And then it expanded. And then I learned more. And now I can go into my QuickBooks. I know how to run through. If I wasn't at that point of pushing myself to the limit, the old Brad would have probably said, okay, let me tap into my network. Let me pay someone to do all of this. And if we're truly going to be a real entrepreneur, two things I've said for years: know your numbers, know your people. I didn't know my numbers, and I had to force myself to learn that part of the business. And then I expanded. Extremity expands your capacity. When you're at that point of breaking, that's when you focus, whatever it is, whatever trigger you use. For me, it's exercise, music, or smoke a joint, one of the three. One of those three things will get me to push past something that I didn't think I could do. And then you expand. Now your capacity expanded. And that's where your growth comes from. And this is the shit from Ed, man. I mean, it's just,
yeah, but you put it into your encryption code, right? Like, yeah, it's from Ed, but you have your own vision of how you relate it. You have your own vision of how you implement it. So yes, but also no, now it's Brad's. Like, it's got Brad's spin on it now, because you're going to deliver it a little bit differently than he's going to. But I want to touch on something you brought up earlier, because I think if there was something that somebody was listening right now is struggling to get through, I think I have a very similar story to you. Start reading. Like, dedicate every day to reading, because it will unlock things within you you can't even comprehend and understand. So I had a very similar 2016. I was still an employee, and I was like, all these successful people I'm hearing about and talking to, like, they all like relate some form or all of their success to reading. I'm like, why am I the asshole that's not reading? Right. And so 2016, I read like a handful of books. Like every year, like my goal is to read 52 books this year. And so, but like starting to read opened my perception and perspective around so many things. It allowed me to look at my life more objectively, which holds me more accountable to and takes the emotion out of the decision making, right? When you're stuck in your own little world and you're stuck in woe is me, or this is just what I have, this is as good as I can be, having outside perspective and being able to observe yourself objectively is probably one of the biggest skill sets I learned in that journey. Because now I don't even, like, I know I can't even listen to my own bullshit. Like, in going through 75 hard the first time in 2019, that was it. Like, me and my wife did it together, and we were like, we just became excuse proof. Like, because we sold our house. I have two kids at that point. They're like 3 and 1, 4 and 2, and like they birthdays and stuff. But we sold our house, moved into my parents' house with two young kids, bought a house and moved in. And then during our first round of 75 hard, and did not fail. We went, okay, now what? What you gonna throw at me now? Because like you can't tell me you can't do something anymore, Mike. Like, talking even to myself, like I became of my own excuse proof, because I realized how to, like, using the reading, using the concepts and like blending them into my own world allowed me to objectively look at myself and say, fuck you, asshole. You're capable of so much more. Stop holding yourself back.
Bro, I love that. That's 75 hard. That's fucking amazing. Good for you. You destroyed all your excuses. And as I'm listening to you talk, one thing you said is and this is a big part. And now I don't know if you did this out loud or in your head. You said to Mike, quit your bullshit. Like, you can't make no more excuses. Did you verbally, like, for me, I've noticed that when I need to have that conversation, instead of keeping it in your head, voice it out. Voice out your next problem. Voice out, like, Brad, are you really making an excuse right now? Or can you go get that fucking done? there's something in power in voicing that shit out. Because when you say it and you speak it and you're like, are you fucking kidding me? No, that's an excuse.
It's
And you
like
get
50
that.
times more powerful to say something, I think, like actually, like I think it's scientifically proven. I think I read that somewhere. But so
That's
I
did,
think
did
so.
you though?
Yeah, so here's what happened. It was probably like around day 27, 28, which is like you hit that like third, fourth week of 75 hard. And that's where like it really starts to like that, you know, you go through like probably 4 or 5 different nights of like extreme mental challenge, and you wake up, you're grateful and you're proud of yourself. And like that's where the confidence starts to build, right? So I think it was around days 27, 28, the seed started planting. Like it was a small little quiet voice, right? And then it was probably day like 39. I mean, I remember this like vividly. Like I think it was like day like 39, it started getting louder. Because it was like I was living at my parents' house at that point, 2 kids, dogs, trying to figure this whole thing out, trying to buy a house, trying to move my stuff around. And I remember it was like 11:30 one night, and I had to like get my fucking macros and fucking water in. I still had a walk to go. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table going, you ain't gonna bitch out on you today. Go do the fucking work. And it was just like, all right, here we go. Like, I mean, there was no, like, I didn't question myself at that point. So like, I think it was like around, you know, day 27, 28, the seed was planted that I was like trying to like, I was thinking and coaching myself internally.
Mhm.
And I want to say it was day 39 when I literally said it out loud. And then it was like, I don't want to say smooth sailing, but every decision from that vocal commitment to myself became easier.
That's
It was
awesome.
like, I don't, because my mom was like, you're crazy. What are you doing? I was like, whoa, bitch. Like, right. You know, like my kids are nagging me. I'm like, whoa, kid. Right. And it was like, you know, other people are like, Mike, you got to slow down. I'm not even started yet. Thank you. Right. And it was just like, well, here's my vest. I'm going for a walk now. Like
Uh,
there, every decision since then, since like it's 2020, middle of 2021 right now. Right. It's been 2 years since I did it the first one. I've done it a handful of times. So like actually phase 3 starts for me July 1st.
nice.
So, but every decision, and if you look at my success, my influence, my money, my life, my relationships, from that day, from day 39, the first time I did 75 hard, every single decision of selfishness for the mission has been easier.
Say it again, man.
Every
People need
single
to hear that.
decision I've had to make since making that verbal commitment to myself around selfishness to the mission has become easier.
That's great.
But 2019, like it wasn't easy. I had to separate from friends. I had to separate from the influence of my parents. Like I didn't like cut them out of my life, but I stopped listening.
Mhm.
Right. I had to step away from some other people in my life that were just not that they were bad people. They were just a bad influence, and they were holding me back from the mission. So like 2019 was a really hard year for me because that was my separation year.
Mm,
But every decision, it was easy to make, hard to understand, but I didn't need to understand it. I didn't let the emotion stop the decision making.
mhm.
I just kept making the decisions that I knew for a fact were the right decision, whether my body believed me or not.
Mhm.
And like, dude, I was 320 pounds for a while.
Oh shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for
I'm
you.
like 235 right now.
Good for fucking you, bro.
And so
That's
like that
amazing.
wasn't easy either.
Mhm.
You know, that first day you decide I don't want to be 320 anymore. That day hurts a lot.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
right. But you know, since 2019, every event, every decision, every investment, every relationship I went after, every relationship I went away from, there's never been a question. I stopped questioning myself. I stopped with I have to negotiate myself to do what I know is right for me. But oh man, that bourbon's so good. Like,
Right.
right. And so the mission's so important. Like, I'm going to build champions. I'm going to help people win. Part of it is helping them. Part of them is showing them that it's possible.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. You touched a base on reading there for a minute and how important reading was. Reading in fucking layman's terms is exercise for your brain. That's as simple as it is. It's a fact. Your brain will function better if you read. Better thinker, better reader, better comprehender, and better everything. What are you
Faster
reading now?
decision maker, which is
Yeah.
where a lot of business owners struggle. It takes them forever to make a decision because they
What,
can't think straight.
what are you reading now?
Right now, I just finished Winning.
Oh yeah. I started Winning. I have it. but I started to read As a Man Thinketh.
Yeah, I read that earlier this year.
Fucking what a great book.
Yeah.
Amazing book. And
So right now I'm reading I Hear You.
Mm.
It's a book about understanding how to relate to the like validating people and their emotions to like to help them through them and stuff. It's like I'm a business coach, right? So like I basically turned into a business therapist. So better understanding how to communicate, because a lot of times, you know, especially as men, you jump in as problem solvers.
Yep.
Right. And
Yep.
so I'm reading this book to better understand how to listen and understand and show that I'm listening better, because especially outside of a paid engagement, because people pay me for advice. So I get used to, you're asking me a question because you're paying me for an answer, right? Well, that doesn't work like in all environments. So learning how to better understand like what the person in front of me is looking for, which I think will help make me a better communicator and a better coach.
So when you do your business coaching, are you coaching them on like the systems, or is it, do you do like a needs assessment to kind of find out what areas they need, and then you kind of go down that rabbit hole and what they need?
So I do a personality test at the beginning of every engagement to better understand a lot more about like where they're at mentally, what their values are, how they like to be educated. Typically that uncovers things I know I'm going to get to, but I have found that if I try to force you as a business owner where I think you need to go, you won't listen. So I have to listen to what you think the problems are first, and then guide you to like, okay, like, yeah, you might have a cash flow issue, but really you have a terrible decision-making problem. Like, right. Or you don't know your numbers, right? But you don't want to hear that when you have a cash flow issue. You don't want to hear that you're the problem a lot of the times.
Yeah,
so I have to balance the running them through a gauntlet of what I think they want, and also understanding, because like I turn to friends with most of the people that I coach, right? And so like it becomes this two-way conversation a lot about what they're thinking, what they're feeling. I become that safe outlet because I'm a very objective listener in the grand scheme of things. I'm going to give you honest feedback. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. But I found that like I have to focus on what you hired me to focus on first, because I typically do 6 or 12-month contracts. So I'm not really in a big rush to get to what I know you need to work on, because in the grand scheme of things, 6 months isn't very long. But I'll start with what you hired me for, and then we always end up getting to what I know you actually need. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great, man. 13 fatal errors that managers make and how to avoid them. Whoever's out there, if you manage any type of team, that was our Bible at LA, and it's a lot of the same principles that we're talking about. Fatal error number one is refusal to accept personal accountability. Failure to develop your people, failure to train, being a buddy, not a buddy. I mean, there's so many, failure to manipulate people. But in that book, and I think this has probably been, now that, we talked this out, that has probably been one of the biggest influential books in my life.
Wow.
Because I had to teach it so often.
Yeah.
And it was our Bible. It was our management training. I had to keep our gut, like they had to know fatal error 1, 2, 3, 4. But when you teach, obviously, like anything, you teach something over and over and over again. Repetition is the mother of all learning. Like every time I was about to make an excuse why I didn't get something done for my team, I would look at this, I'd be like, bro, are you holding yourself accountable right now? You're making a fucking excuse. Are you kidding me? You're going to give your guys an excuse? No way. Wake the fuck up and get it done first thing in the morning. So your guys, I had this fucking foundation that my guys could never, ever, ever hold something on me. Ever. You can never say, oh, well, Brad didn't do that. Motherfucker, I'm not going to give you the chance.
You don't need that as a leader. You have enough challenges.
Right. Like
having people throwing your own shit back in your face is not something you need.
And that's a big thing in business where they make business owners. I mean, I in 2019, I did some big, coaching for gym owners. I was going to go down that route. Just made a couple audible plays, but that's the first thing that I teach them is are you holding yourself accountable to your team? Are you walking the walk, or are you just talking the talk? Right? Because in any sense of leadership, if you're not leading by example, every fucking facet, like I have these core values, RTA's core values right here. I look at them every day. I read them. They're in my bookmark, and I let that be my guiding principle right now, because I'm reading it every day. I'm seeing it every day. I'm saying it every day. And there's so much power that goes into that in discipline. Man, we could fucking talk for hours about this shit, bro, because
Yeah.
we're very much in tune. Like your break free year, your breakout year was 19. Mine was 2020. When the pandemic hit, I just you start hearing fucking people are dying and this is happening. And I started March 9th with Andy. I started 75 hard. That was my second time doing it. And I think the biggest thing, and I'm not going to go too crazy down the rabbit hole on this, but I started to think, if I died right now, did I do my job as a dad? And you
Damn.
think, well, I'm teaching my kids, and for years I always said, I did my job. I got two fucking amazing kids, 23-year-old, my son's a Marine, about to be a police officer. My daughter's going to be going to college. Like everything's just fucking, I got good kids, and they're kind, right? I thought, did I do my job? And I just played this like funeral out in my head of seeing, my friends and feeling, oh my God, Brad was so positive. He was, and I looked at my kids and I was like, what did I leave them behind? I left them, some money in the bank, which at the time wasn't nowhere near what it has multiplied to today,
Which is only a year later.
which is only a year later, which is amazing. God,
Yeah.
thanks every day. And a couple insurance checks. And I'm like, I didn't do my job. And from that point forward, I was so intentional about every facet of my life. The bitch, killing the bitch voice, doing what I said I was going to do. May 14th, Mike, bro, I dropped down on my knees in my room. And I just said, I don't know how this is supposed to work, bro. And I just started praying. And I was just like, having this conversation. I'm like, I may sound like a fucking retard right now. I don't know, but I know I'm missing something. And the first thing I asked him, I said, God, put the people, places, and things in my path. Take out the people, places, and things that need to go. And something hit me. Like there was a crew of people that were in my inner circle that were disingenuous, fucking just fake. And I picked up the phone the next day and I called every single one of them. Not that it was like, oh, Brad, you changed. I called them and I'm like, listen, I'm disconnecting from you. You and me, we ain't the same.
Damn.
You're all about this, that. I'm I can't play this game no more. I can't play the fakeness. Just know that this is for me. You did nothing wrong. It's just, I can't operate on that system no more. And it was the fucking biggest liberating thing. Had that same DNA, that were a force for good. And this is where me and Arte, I was just kind of in the back, listening. I started reaching out to people, started reaching out to guys that I thought, you know what, I hear his message, I can fuck with him. And it sounds fucking weird as hell, but I literally said to people, listen, I want to get to know you more. I want to learn more about you. I need men like you in my life. And just, I started laying these bricks, bro, and fucking here we are, man. I'm on a fucking great podcast with you. We're talking about building and growing and scaling, and
it's a different conversation, right?
It's a different conversation, man. I'm doing a post later on today, about your network. And it's a pretty deep one, man. It's not just about, your network is your net worth, blah, 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 blah. Like I went down the rabbit hole about making intentional relationships, and that's something I never did. Like I wouldn't,
but
reach
not
out
just
to a guy
making it. It's like deciding what relationships are right. Right.
Yeah.
So like, so basically like you found the recipe and then built it, but like most people don't ever sit down like, what relationships are right for me? And you made a very aggressive exit from previous relationships, which like kudos to you. That's not easy to do. Like those are not easy and fun phone calls because they're not going to understand. And so no, that's amazing, man.
But guys like if I called you with some bullshit I feel pretty confident that the men that are in my circle right now, and I'm first off, I'm extremely grateful that this relationship's happening, because I need those men in my life where, and a lot of men shy away from this because they don't want what I'm about to say. If I say, Mike, I'm building a fucking gym, this is going to open in 2022. 2022 comes rolling around. Brad, whatever happened to that gym? Like, didn't you say, are you full of shit?
I would have said, why not 2021? That's what I would have said.
Right?
Why are you waiting 6 months?
Exactly. You see what I mean? Exactly
Yeah.
what I mean. Where I need to be with, I must be with men and women that are going to do what the fuck they say they're going to do. But more importantly, hold me accountable to bullshit.
Well, I'm on to you now. I got
Yeah,
you.
it's coming.
So, man, dude, Brad, what an amazing story, man. I really appreciate you sharing all that. I'm looking forward to that post later. But look, I'm sure some of my audience right now is being like, damn, Brad's somebody I'd like to get to know a little bit better, or like really better understand. So how do people get in touch with you if they're looking to connect with you?
Easiest way, it's Brad Modrich on everything. BradModrich. That's website, bradmodrich.com, Instagram,
And
LinkedIn.
when guys, if you're listening, check the show notes. We'll connect to him in those places as well. But I connect primarily on Instagram. So if you guys
Yeah.
come to my page, I'm sure there'll be a post shared as well to connect to you guys to Brad as well. So at Winrate Consulting on Instagram, Brad will be tagged in the episode release post. So, dude, thank you so much for taking this time, man. I know you're a busy dude, and this is a powerful episode, man. I'm
Love
super excited. I already have the title in my head of what I want to name it. So but dude, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and looking forward to continuing to just follow your journey and getting your ass when you need to.
Yes, sir. I
All
look
right, man.
forward to it. Well,
Appreciate you.
thank you. Grateful. Thank you.